They hadn't counted on me actually showing up. To be honest, I didn't really expect it either. That wedding invite sat on my desk like a dare I hadn't answered yet. Heavy cardstock, gold lettering pressed deep, and one name centered like a stamp, Major General Evelyn Maddox, not Evelyn. Not Evie, definitely not our daughter. Just a rank. As if that somehow made swallowing me easier, 6 years. That's how long it had been since I'd heard my parents' voices anywhere, other than a stray voicemail or my name muttered in pity at some military gala. No birthday calls, no word when I nearly lost my hearing in Helmand. Just silence. Precise. Curated silence. And now? Now they send me an invitation to watch my sister Haley get married. A note inside, handwritten. One word. Behave. Not a we miss you. Not a hope you'll come. Just that single command. Like I was a problem they needed to contain. I flipped it over, wondering how they'd track down my address. Maybe they didn't. Maybe the Army's event staff passed it along. Or maybe Haley decided her PR. Moment wouldn't look complete without the family scandal hidden in the back row. This wasn't an olive branch. It was theater. I wasn't being asked back as family. I was there to prove they'd done their duty by pretending. Funny thing about revenge. People think it starts with fury. Mine started with disbelief, then settled into this quiet, throbbing curiosity. Did they still remember how to spell my name? Outside my window, the wind tapped. The glass like it had something to say. I leaned on the frame and looked out at the Stoutgart training fields. A fresh class of recruits was mid-drill, bright-eyed, loud, hungry. They didn't know yet what it felt like to be written out by the same people who raised you. I envied them. A knock broke that thought. My aide, Simmons, stepped in without. Waiting, you going? He asked, eyes flicking toward the envelope. He always knew more than he let on. Just got it, I answered, my tone flat. He lifted an eyebrow. That what we're calling it. I didn't bother replying because it wasn't an invitation. It was bait, maybe a dare, maybe a trap, and I still hadn't decided if I'd walk away or walk straight in. One way or another, I'd carry those stars on my shoulders, not to flaunt, but to remind them they couldn't erase me quietly anymore. Virginia looked like a postcard trying too hard. Perfect cherry trees, spotless sidewalks, hedges so manicured they felt sterile. Too neat, too staged. One cul-de-sac turn and I was parked across from the house that used to be mine. Nothing about it had changed, which somehow made it worse. I hadn't really come back since my father's funeral. Back then, there wasn't even a seat left for me at the front. I'd stood through the whole thing in full dress uniform while my mother perched between Haley and Uncle Roy, pretending. It was normal. Now it was my sister's wedding rehearsal dinner, and somehow that cut deeper. I knocked once, then paused. That smell hit me first. Lemon polish, Barbara Maddox's trademark scent of disapproval hidden under a clean shine. When the door swung open, she stared at my uniform a beat too long. Evelyn, she said, voice flat as pressed linen. Please don't ruin this for Haley. No hello, no you look well, just a warning. I gave her a small nod. Inside, everything was the same. The china cabinet, the chandelier, the tension pulsing under that polished mahogany table. 14 people sat around it, 5/10th seat. Guess which one was mine? Far end, next to the sideboard where the heat from the kitchen would keep your back just uncomfortable enough to remind you where you stood. Not near Haley, nowhere near the middle. They knew what they were doing. Nobody said Evelyn's back. Nobody offered an introduction. I was just there, a starched shadow. One cousin dared a glance, leaned to whisper. I caught the word. Security. I didn't react, but maybe you've been there too. Stepped inside a room that once cradled your memories only to feel like a ghost. If you know that feeling, I bet you still remember how the silence roared louder than any laughter. It's something else, how people can erase you in plain sight, isn't it? The ballroom for the reception looked like it belonged in a bridal magazine. White linens, gold-rimmed plates, an absurd ice sculpture shaped like two initials wrapped together. It all screamed perfection, except for the seating chart. My name was missing. I stood in front of that brass easel, eyes skimming the rows. Haley and Andrew at table 1, our parents at table 2, cousins at 3, 4. On and on, but no Evelyn Maddox, no Major General. Just a tiny E. Maddox scribbled small at table 12, shoved near the catering exit. My napkin is shade off. Not by accident, a message. I've seen war zones with less strategy. Haley drifted through the room like the air was hers alone. Dress flawless, makeup unbothered. That practiced smile that made people hand her trust even as she twisted the blade. She paused by my table, leaned in just enough to murmur, I told them not to make it too military on your side. Then she glided off before I could answer. Didn't shock me. Still hurt a little. I'd saved her fiance's life, and now I was treated like an unclaimed +1. The toast started, Dad first. A cheer for new beginnings. Mom chimed in, to loyalty. And grace. Both of them looking right through me. No nod to the daughter who crossed an ocean. No thank you for coming. No welcome back. Then Haley grabbed the mic. Champagne flute raised, spinning like she owned the stage. Can you believe, she cooed, my big sister even made it tonight. All the way from wherever she's guarding doors now. The room laughed. Not a polite chuckle, a full, easy laugh. The kind that flows when they think the target isn't standing right there. Except I was. And then Barbara, my mother, added from table 2, voice clear, eyes sharp. She's the shame of this family, but at least she's punctual. That was it. The ballroom tipped into more laughter. Glasses clinked. No one shifted uncomfortably. No one tried to stop it. I didn't shout. Didn't cry. I stood slowly, lifted my untouched glass, and took a sip, calm, deliberate. The silence that came wasn't because I raised my voice. It was because I didn't. I set the glass down and set it clean. The people I guard. I told them, outrank everyone in this room. That was all. But it landed harder than anything they'd planned. The laughter didn't come back, not because they got it, but because, for the first time, they didn't know what box to put. Me in. I stayed on my feet not because I had more to say, but because, for once, I needed them to actually see me, not guess, not whisper, not erase. Then I saw him, Andrew, standing at the ballroom's far edge, caught between his new in-laws and the people who once cheered his pinning, his jaw set, eyes fixed on mine. No laugh, no smile. Just that steady soldier's walk you can't fake. He crossed the room, past the cousins, the neighbors, the polite strangers, right by my mother, who hissed something he didn't even hear, past Haley, frozen mid-glance. Clutching her glass like it might hold her up. He stopped just short of me. Not close enough to pretend we were friends, close enough to make it formal. He raised his hand in a salute, crisp, precise, textbook perfect. Then, loud enough to split the chandeliers and the lies, he said, This is Major General Evelyn Maddox, my commanding officer. Please forgive my wife. The gasp came before I saw who it was from. Haley's face cracked, eyes wide. Her smile vanished. The mic slipped from her fingers and smacked the floor like a gavel. She fainted. Someone shrieked. A flute smashed. My mother shot to her feet so fast her chair hit the floor. But me? I didn't blink. Because this wasn't revenge, it was recognition. And it was long overdue. The room didn't freeze in panic. It froze with something colder, realization. Near the wine bar, a man in uniform stood up, Colonel. Reardon, retired but proud, he raised his hand in salute. No words, just respect. Then another, General Park, then a third, an older woman I didn't know, but her eyes told me enough. She'd worn stars once too. 4 salutes, 4 truths. No one could ignore now that my mother tried to speak. This is not the time, but no one heard her anymore. Every eye had shifted, not because I begged for it, but because they finally saw what they'd spent years pretending wasn't there. and the shame they piled on me settled back on them. Quiet, heavy, deserved. Andrew lowered his salute and stepped aside, leaving me the floor, wordless. I didn't touch the mic, didn't raise my voice. I just stayed standing. And somehow, that said more than they ever could. The hotel lounge after felt calculated, not cozy. Velvet chairs, dim lights, voices pitched low so secrets wouldn't bounce. Barbara Maddox sat across from me, cardigan pressed, pearls buttoned. All the way up. No hug, no smile. Just, you certainly made a statement. I didn't reply, didn't need to. She sipped at coffee gone cold. The press is buzzing. Some headlines are flattering. Some. Less so. Still nothing from me. We weren't prepared, she continued. Not Haley, not even your father. If Haley fainted, I said flat. Barbara blinked. She's delicate. To the truth? I asked. Or just not being the center of the room. She tightened her grip on the cup. I didn't come to argue. Then what did you come for? I asked. She paused, leaned in slightly. I thought maybe you'd release a statement. Something neutral. Clarify that we, fully understand your role. There it was. Let me get this straight, I said slowly. You want me to issue a statement. Not to fix a lie, but to cushion your discomfort. She flinched. Barely, but I saw it. You have to understand. We didn't mean to hurt you. I was trying to protect the family's image. You were always different. Loud. I wasn't loud, I said. I was visible, not the same thing. I slid a folder from my folio, placed it between us. She didn't touch it, just stared. This was sent 7 years ago. An anonymous tip to the ethics board. Said I falsified. Reports questioned my Bronze Star, called me unstable. Got me passed over for my first star. I tapped the second page. Linguistic breakdown. 96% match. Haley Maddox. Secondary input, Barbara Maddox. Her lips parted, then shut again. There it was, the crack behind the pearls. I didn't write, but you gave her the words. I cut in. The files, the tone, the ammo. She hit send. But it had your fingerprints. Her eyes glassed over. No tears, just defeat. You didn't just forget me, I said. You sabotaged me, quietly, professionally, completely. I made choices, she whispered, and I paid for them. I never stopped loving you. No, I said. You just stopped calling. The silence that followed wasn't rage. It was heavier than that. Do you even know what it feels like? I asked. To watch your mother pretend you don't exist? Her voice cracked. I was protecting your sister. She didn't need to compete, I snapped. She just needed to show up, and you made sure I was too buried to be seen. For a second, she looked small, not softer. Just used up. She reached halfway across the table, but didn't land her hand. I never wanted to lose you. You didn't lose me, I said. You pushed me out, then blamed me for staying gone. She didn't argue. Her hand hovered in the air. Never touched mine. If anyone asks why I stopped coming around, I finished. Don't tell them I drifted. Don't say it was complicated. Tell them the truth. You made a choice. And so did I. I rose, left the papers on the table. She didn't follow. That's the thing about betrayal by your own mother. It doesn't need screaming. It just needs silence and proof. The breeze off the Amalfi Coast smelled of salt and lemons. Barefoot on a stone terrace, a cup of strong espresso in my hand, I watched the sea sprawl out like it owed me nothing. For the first time in forever, I felt still. No orders, no uniform, no ceremonies. Just sunlight, canvas, and quiet that didn't punish me for breathing. The press never got a statement. No quote, no interview, no soundbite. Just that single moment, one salute, and that was enough. The wedding clip hit 3 million views in 2 days. Caption read, they laughed until her ranks silenced the room. I never riposted, never explained. Didn't need to. A few weeks later, the Pentagon called. offered me a chair on the new ethics advisory board, the irony not lost on me. I said no. Instead, I started the Resilience Foundation, a place for service members who get ambushed not by enemies overseas, but by the people waiting at home, spouses, parents, siblings. We help them rebuild not just their clearances, but themselves. Because the worst fights aren't always fought in uniform. Sometimes they play out around dinner tables, in family threads, at funerals with empty chairs. Funny thing, the ones who worked so hard to erase me are the reason no one can forget. Me now. A few months ago, my mother sent a letter, handwritten, said she'd watched my PBS interview, the one about betrayal and chain of command. She wrote, "I didn't realize how far you'd climbed. I wish I'd seen you then." But that's the truth. She did see me. She just didn't want to. And now she doesn't get access to the version of me that survived it all. Not because I hate her, but because I finally love myself enough to stay gone without guilt. The military taught me how to stand tall under fire. But exile? That I learned at home and I made peace with it. This morning, a boy from the village brought fresh bread and olives. He asked, broken English, "You were a general?" I smiled. "Once," I said. "Now I'm just someone who decided not to vanish." He laughed and ran off barefoot into the sun. I turned back to the sea, and for the first time, the silence felt kind. Have you ever had to walk away? Not to punish them, but to finally protect yourself. I don't need your details. Just tell me if this story touched something you've carried too. Drop a word, an emoji. I'll see them all. And thank you for staying with me through this. If you felt understood for even a heartbeat, then I'm glad we found each other.